I'd love to start off by reflecting a bit on your time on campus, beginning with how Princeton supported your ability to develop and build Teach for America.
Well, I'm first of all extremely grateful for the thesis requirement, without which I don't think we would have Teach for America. Seriously, I mean, I wouldn't have, I think what that led me to do was actually approach this idea that I'd become really obsessed about with more discipline than I otherwise would have, you know, in terms of looking at historical models and really analyzing the policy context and ultimately developing a plan that was inspired by some of these other approaches in terms of the form that it took, like the history of the Peace Corps and et cetera. So the thesis requirement was very valuable. I mean, my overarching thought, I just remember getting to Princeton and just feeling this incredible freedom to do whatever I wanted and work as hard as I wanted, surrounded by a lot of other people who didn't think that was crazy. That's my biggest memory. Like, I felt like it was very, very freeing. I found my way very oddly, in a way, to business today my freshman year. I mean, it was so strange how I got like sucked into this. And that proved to be a truly transformative experience. I mean, honestly, I didn't want to have anything to do with business. I was the editor of my high school paper and I wanted to pursue journalism. And then someone called me saying, we're desperate for writers at Business Today. Can you just write this one article? And it just like one thing led to another. Like it just got worse and worse from there in terms of how, the thing is, it was about to die. So then I have this inherent sense of responsibility. So I'm thinking, I guess I need to like try to fix this. And I will spare you the details about how we went from there. That whole experience, that led me to realize how the world works. Realize that these people were giving out money to us for whatever it was that we were doing. And so I realized, wow, like if you have an idea that you want to have make happen, you can go ask these people and companies to give you money for it. You know, and I ended up, you know, managing a team of 60 people and figuring out like what it would take to build a high functioning organization. Like I learned so much. There was actually a ton I didn't know, but I thought I'd learned a ton. And I thought that's what led me to think, oh, I can start this, which was a little delusional, but yeah.
So did you ever imagine that Teach for America would grow into what it is today? You know, not just TFA, but a network of independent organizations adapting the Teach for America approach in 44 different countries.
People are always asking me, like, did you imagine Teach for America would get to where it has gotten? And honestly, sort of. I just thought it was going to happen in like 2 or 3 years. I had no idea what it would really take to get there. So in a way, I did sort of have the vision, but I had no idea what it would take. Actually, it's one of the best things to happen in the journey is that there was just something in the water about 11 years ago. And within 1 year, I heard from 13 people from 13 countries who, one thing or another, they weren't talking to each other, had just led them to think we really need to start Teach for India or Teach for Lebanon or Enseña Chile or whatever. But it just turned out to be the best thing because they're just such brilliant people all over the world in such diverse contexts, thinking differently, but all united by the same ideals. And what I've realized is how much more quickly we can move when we're learning from each other across borders.
In countries from India to Haiti to Bulgaria, what have you learned from building this global network?
Local leadership is everything. I mean, take Haiti, which you mentioned. 1% of Haitians get college degrees. But the other thing is 80% of the 1% leave Haiti. And so if you know the history of Haiti, it's just this tale of failed outside intervention. And the people in Haiti, and the woman who's launched Teach for Haiti, which is actually called Ansei pour Haiti, it's Creole for Teach for Haiti. Her whole thing is, we're gonna transform Haiti from within. We're not gonna rain down solutions and have them stick. Like the only path to truly sustainable change is through cultivating local leadership and helping those local leaders understand what's possible. The issues we're addressing are actually eerily similar from place to place. I mean, truly, you get into this and you realize, you feel like we're fighting the forces of gravity because the mindsets, the patterns that hold us back are so similar. If the issues are so similar, the solutions are shareable. And so the notion of having all these deeply rooted local leaders who actually understand what's working from other places could just radically increase the pace of change.
The education debate feels very polarized and stuck. What do you see as the most important thing that we can do to improve education right now?
I'm kind of obsessed with this idea, an effort to kind of co-create with people in the community, like students, parents, educators, business people, like the key stakeholders in a community. I think they need to come together and say, what do we want to have be true for our kids? What do we want to have be true for them? This is such a unifying question. Secondly, no one defines better test scores. That's not the vision. People want like big things for their kids. Like they define these big visions. And what you realize is all these debates we're having, they're not going to get us there.
Over the years, there's been a lot of misperceptions about Teach for All's theory of change. Can you put any of that confusion to rest?
Probably most people think Teach for America is about teaching for 2 years. And that's actually not the big idea of Teach for America. It's about 2 years and every year after the 2 years. Ultimately, we need to change the system, right? Like this problem exists because whole segments of kids face so many extra challenges that other kids don't face. Racism to discrimination to lack of adequate health care and nutrition to all the stress and trauma that comes from growing up in poverty. You could name every year for the thing that people decided was going to solve it. Give every parent a voucher, make every school a charter, fix the teachers. It's been that for the last 3 years or so. This is like playing whack-a-mole. It doesn't work. The only path is to have real collective leadership. Like it's going to take people working at every level of the school system, at every level of policy, across sectors in order to do it. And what we're trying to do is essentially help develop and catalyze collective leadership in communities through inspiring many more people with proven leadership potential. It's different to actually work in this system and to understand firsthand not only your own experience, but from that vantage point, all these different kids' experience and what their family's experience is and what the system is doing and is not doing to solve the problem. Like it's just, you come out of this with a much more deeply grounded perspective on the nature of the issues and also a much different level of conviction about the importance of solving it.
So I've seen research that about 60 to 70% of participants in Teach for America and the other programs all around the world continue to work in education. What is it about that 2-year commitment that really inspires such a high percentage of people to stay in this work?
From Bangladesh to India to Colombia to, many places. Last week, I asked this question of a whole bunch of alumni in Dallas, Texas. And the question I ask is, what was the thing that most struck you during the 2 years? Like, what was the biggest thing you learned? And what's really fascinating is that the answers I get, it does not matter which country I'm in, and it was so true in Dallas, always fall into 2 buckets. One, and this is the biggest theme, is I gained a sense of possibility. I realized what my kids can do, or I realized what I could do. This problem that people think is so intractable, we could actually solve it. Like, I can make a difference. So that's one piece, and then the other piece is we realized how complex it is. I think there's something in those 2 lessons that really explain why these folks become such a force for change, because they're, on the one hand, leading with a real sense of possibility. Like, they're realizing we can change this system. And on the other hand, they're not chasing the silver bullet solutions, and they're recognizing the true complexity. Like, they're actually grounded in what really needs to happen for kids.